And now, the general weather around Alaska.
All right, here on the satellite imagery, you can see clouds here moving from southwest to northeast, several surges, one shifting into the Northwest Territories here, another one pushing up across the northern interior, and then kind of a trough trailing back into another batch of moisture here, now making landfall along the southwest coast, a little bit of a break, and then some more moisture, the front farther to the south. Otherwise, for the panhandle, nothing but clear skies out there, extending up across most of southern Alaska here. Start picking up some mid and high level clouds as you head north toward the Alaska Range. On the chart today, strong high pressure over the Northwest Territories and the Yukon, keeping it dry over the southeast coast, mostly clear. And again, that mostly clear sky condition extending in across the southern quarter of the state here, all the way down into Bristol Bay and Kodiak Island, with winds on the light side everywhere, and it allows low clouds and fog to form in some areas like over Cook Inlet, the usual places there. Up to the north, again, more clouds from about the Alaska Range into the interior, with areas of snow falling here from the Koyukuk Valley back to the northwest coast. And some of that on a little heavier up around Cape Lisburne, with some gusty winds there, and some light snow down into Kotzebue. Places could have picked up a couple of inches there, and then just some lighter precipitation kind of becoming mixed here for the Yukon Delta coast, with light rain out toward the Pribilof Islands, but quite light there. And then the Aleutians, pretty dry today. There was some light rain at times over the eastern Aleutians there, Nikolsky on in toward Unalaska, and Dutch Harbor. And for tonight, things pretty quiet really overall of interior Alaska. Just this trough right through here, keeping it cloudy with areas of light snow from the southwest coast on up the Yukon River there into the Koyukuk Valley, but pretty light snowfall amounts, and some light snow over the eastern North Slope and Arctic coast. Colder air following this trough in behind, coming out of the Russian Far East there with that high trying to build across the Bering Strait. So temperatures will be colder in this area behind that trough. High pressure, light winds, variably cloudy skies for Bristol Bay. And that whole pattern extends across southern Alaska tonight, and stays mostly clear and dry for the southeast coast. Still some gap northeast winds, but nothing too terribly strong. Moving on to tomorrow for Wednesday, no change really for the southeast coast here. Still dry and maybe a few clouds here and there, especially over the north. About the same tomorrow as we saw today for south central Alaska and the Copper River Basin. Down to Kodiak Island, still dry for Bristol Bay. Alaska Peninsula dry, eastern Aleutians dry, and actually the southeast Bering Sea looking pretty good, including the Pribilof Islands. May see some clearing there. Several batches of possible snow here. This one over toward areas from just north of Eagle, up a short distance to the north, but not quite as far north as Old Crow. And then some snow pretty likely there for the eastern Arctic coast, extending down into the Brooks Range. Another batch here over the Norton Sound area, extending inland a little ways there. But again, that's quite light precipitation with that. High pressure keeps it dry and variably cloudy for the Alaska Peninsula. Pretty light winds there for the peninsula into Bristol Bay again. Starting to pick up a breeze here for the Fox Islands, but still looking dry. Same thing for the Pribilofs, as I mentioned. And then rain with this front down to the south. Pretty gusty winds, maybe up to 40 miles an hour possible there for Adak and Atka. And moving on to Thursday. Much bigger area of rain showing up here with an increase in the winds as that front presses northward here just south of Adak and Atka. So it looks like gale force winds coming into the eastern Aleutians westward to Atka, possibly Adak, and then a little lighter out to the west. But rainfall pushing northward here. Looks like some rain into possibly as far east as the Alaska Peninsula, with dry conditions continuing for the Pribilofs. Northern Bering Sea of this trough, look for periods of snow for St. Lawrence Island, and that's slipping on into the northern portions of the Yukon Delta area across Norton Sound, possibly reaching the south coast of the Seward Peninsula. But the interior, very quiet day coming up Thursday with light winds, good high pressure up over the north slope there, and really light winds and mostly clear skies. Still looking at some low clouds and fog around Cook Inlet, maybe Prince William Sound, and other areas in the interior valleys possible as well. A little more cloudiness here. Some of that moisture continues to spread eastward, but it should be of the non-precipitation producing clouds. And in the southeast coast, look for an increase in the clouds down to the south associated with this low to the west of the Queen Charlotte Islands. Lows for tonight, teens and 20s for the Panhandle, 20 to 25 below for the Copper River Basin, and for south central Alaska, anywhere from 5 below to 10 above. Upper teens for Homer, lower 30s for Kodiak. And out to the west here, you can see lows 10 to 15, except a little milder in Bristol Bay. And then for the highs tomorrow, in the 20s here out to the west. Teens and 20s for south central Alaska, and -5 in the Copper River Basin. Upper 30s there for Kodiak, and the southeast coast highs in the 30s. Followed by lows for the Panhandle in the teens and 20s once again. Lows 10 to 15 below for the Copper River Basin. Should stay above 0 for the most part here. Some areas in the Susitna Valley there where it's nice and blue, west of the highway there, could drop below 0 again. Otherwise, looking at lows 10 to 15, lower 20s down toward Homer and Soldovia, 30 for Kodiak, and in the teens out here to the west, 20s for Bristol Bay. Highs 5 to 10, Copper River Basin in the 20s to lower 30s, south central Alaska and the Kenai Peninsula, and highs anywhere from 30 to 38 there for the southeast coast, near 40 for Kodiak, lower 30s for Bristol Bay. Up to the north here for the Arctic coast, staying below 0. Again, that colder air coming in from the west and northwest, so lows tonight below 0 for the northern Seward Peninsula out to the Bering Strait, right around 0 for St. Lawrence Island, and then right around 0 there for the central Arctic coast, mid to upper teens or mid-teens here to the east, and then lows anywhere from 5 to 10 below in the Yukon Flats to 5 to 20 above, even up to 29 there for Unalakleet. Now be followed by a high, not much higher than the low, about 31 there, so right around freezing here for the northern Yukon Delta, mid-20s there for Nome, single numbers for the north side of the peninsula, and coldest on the western Arctic coast, milder to the east, right around 20 for the Tanana Valley. And lows a little farther below 0, definitely here for the Arctic coast and North Slope, anywhere from 15 to 25 below, and 15 to 20 below there for the Kobuk Valley westward out to Kotzebue, and Nome falling a little below 0 with 5 below at Savunga. Otherwise staying above 0 there for the greater Fairbanks area over toward Eagle, and that'll be followed by highs in the teens there north of the Alaska Range, below 0 here for the Brooks Range of the Arctic coast, Seward Peninsula area, as well as the northwest coast out to the west. Lows tonight in the 30s, just about everywhere out there. And then highs for tomorrow, upper 30s. So not much of a day to night change out there. Pushing 40 over the eastern Aleutians there. And then the lows, mid 30s, mid to upper 30s, cooler for the Pribilofs. And 20s there for the southwest coast. With highs Thursday afternoon, pushing 40 there for Sand Point, 42 for Unalaska. And in the lower 40s for Adak and Atka.